Okay, perfect. We're live for all the folks that are watching on YouTube as well. So we're going to get right to it. Thank you all for coming out today and attending this event. Hi all, my name is Alvin Lee. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm the ASB Vice President for MSJ for the 2020 to 2021 school year. Thank you all for coming to our first ever MSJ Senior Panel. On behalf of the rest of my fellow MSJ ASB officers for the 2020 to 2021 school year, we are so excited for this one-of-a-kind event. This event will be institutionalized for years to come and will be an annual collaboration between the MSJ Associated Student Body and the MSJ School Student Newspaper, Smoke Signal. In addition, on behalf of my fellow ASB officers, we also want to give an amazing shout out to our seniors and this year's Smoke Signal Editor-in-Chiefs, Yusuf Rashid and Sabrina Wu, for conceptualizing, organizing, and facilitating today's event. So let's give them a big round of applause. I'm sure everyone in the audience and on the live stream is virtual cheering you on as well. It is really thanks to their tireless efforts and work that today's event was made possible. So once again, thank you, Yusuf and Sabrina and MSJ ASB for all you do for our school community. So now I'm going to pass it off to Warren Chang.
All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome again to our first ever MSJ Senior Panel. Today, we have a panel of 8 diverse seniors who will be reflecting and answering questions about their experiences here at MSJ. We hope that their personal anecdotes and advice will ultimately provide insight for MSJ underclassmen. And here are just a few guidelines for this event. This is a space for everyone to listen to student perspectives, experience, and advice. All attendees should be respectful and ask mature questions, and if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask.
The event will be split up into 2 sections, the guided questions and the Q&A. The seniors will begin by answering a few guided questions about their experiences at MSJ, and then after a 5-minute break following section 1, we will then open up questions to audience members. You can submit questions using the Zoom Q&A feature, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can put the questions in the live chat.
And now we will have the seniors introduce themselves. We'll start with Crystal Mao.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I hope all of our individual experiences will help you gain insight into your future as a college student. My name is Crystal Mao, and I'll be majoring in music performance and business economics at UCLA in the fall. You may have heard some of my performances at various MSJ events. I am the current co-leader of MSJ Syncopations, which is Mission's a cappella group. I am a private vocal teacher, and I have many, many years of experience as a performing arts student. So if you have any questions about performing arts in general or being a music major, I am happy to answer them.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Wong, and I'll be majoring in entertainment design at Art Center College of Design, specifically the concept art track. And you may have seen one of my murals at the school. It's right next to Ms. Rubling's health classroom in the P Wing. And my other mural can be found at the California Historical Nursery in the Niles District. I know there probably aren't that many resources for art students at Mission, so I'll be more than happy to help you with any related questions.
Hey, everyone. Before I introduce myself, I just wanted to give a special thanks to Smoke Signal and ASB for organizing this wonderful event, and a special thanks to Yusuf and Sabrina for all of their work in organizing this event. We really hope that our insights will help you guys out in your future, high school and beyond. So I'm Anirudh Baliveru. I'm going to be studying computer science and business at MIT in the fall, and some of you guys might be familiar. As far as a couple of things that I'm involved with on campus, some of you guys might be familiar with the Mission Connected mobile app. I actually helped develop that over the summer, over the past couple of years, and I've been pretty involved with app development and software engineering over the years. I say apart from computer science related stuff, I'm really interested in tech entrepreneurship, and I was also the co-founder of Mission San Jose's Linguistics Club. So if you guys are interested in things about club formation and stuff like that, feel free to reach out to me or ask any questions in the Q&A. And the last thing that I'm pretty involved with at school is I'm actually the events and fundraising head of our school's peer resource. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Hey all, my name's Alvin Lee. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm going to be double majoring in public policy, government, and philosophy, politics, and economics this fall, at Claremont McKenna College. If you have any questions about political advocacy, activism, public policy, government, poli-sci, etc., feel free to shoot me some questions today. In terms of my experience, I'm the founder and executive director of Gen Up, and we're California's largest youth-led education advocacy organization with more than 4,000 plus student members and 100 plus chapters. I'm also the founder and chair of the California Department of Education's Youth Advisory Council, where we work with the state superintendent, Tony Thurmond, to advise and shape education policy affecting 6.3 million public school students. Outside of that, I'm also very engaged in both our local community. I've done some internships for the governor and the state legislature, as well as some political campaigns. And Gen Up this year, we also introduced a bill into the California state legislature this year. And just a week ago, it passed the assembly floor, and it's now moving to the Senate floor. So if you have any questions about politics, feel free to shoot me a message today. Once again, I also want to echo what Anirudh said. Big shout out to Sabrina and Yusuf for putting together today's awesome event.
Yeah, really happy to be here with you guys, and thank you everybody for being here with us and taking some time out of your evening to spend some time just sharing your advice. So I'm Sabrina Wu, and in the fall I'll be attending UC Berkeley to study business and economics. My main interest in high school mainly lay in studying entrepreneurship and economics, but I also had a lot of interests in journalism and graphic design / art. Some of the activities that I was involved in high school, I'm the president of MSJ DECA. I'm also the co-editor-in-chief of the Smoke Signal, our school newspaper. And I'm also the co-founder of MSJ FIMRIC. I'm also involved in a couple of humanities-based clubs at MSJ, such as Exit Zine, Writer's Block. And in high school, I really focused on trying to find my own path in terms of finding classes at community college that focused on business, and also starting a couple of small businesses on my own to really establish those interests. And so, if you have any questions about having diverted interests in humanities and business, or just in general about business in general, I'd be happy to help.
Hey everyone, my name is Sahil Singh, and I'm going to be studying aerospace engineering and astrophysics at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, in the fall. I've been interested in space for as long as I can remember, and I've been basically dedicated this career track my entire life. When my head isn't in the stars, I'm an Eagle Scout, and I've been heavily involved in local as well as international scouting throughout my high school career. When I'm not going on adventures, I run the peer mentoring program as an officer in Peer Resource, and I also serve as the vice president for the Youth Emergency Preparedness Council.
Hey everybody, I'm Aris. I'll be going to Ohlone College right down the street, where I'll be majoring in business and finance, as well as playing soccer for their team. A couple of things about me: I'm the captain of MSJ's varsity soccer team, and I've been involved in varsity soccer all 4 years of high school. I'm a youth soccer coach, member of the DECA Club, and a real estate intern. If you have any question related to joining the soccer program, or any question about real estate in general or business, please shoot me a message on Facebook Messenger or email me, which we'll be providing in the chat box later. Thank you.
Hey everyone, thank you all for coming today, and I'm so excited to talk to you. I'm Yusuf Rashid, and I'll be attending Yale this fall for biomedical engineering. I love exploring the field of medicine, and I currently serve as the president of MSJ MedCorps, our school's largest medical club on campus. You may have also seen me running along the streets of Fremont in a bright neon shirt. That's probably me. I've been part of our school's cross-country and track and field team for the past 4 years and would love to talk to you about athletics and running. I also serve as the editor-in-chief of our school's newspaper, The Smoke Signal, and the founder of Youth Emergency Preparedness Council, our city's first nonprofit dedicated to preparing our community for natural disasters. I'm happy to talk to you all today about medicine, athletics, journalism, and ePrep. And once again, thank you so much for coming. It means the world to us.
Great introductions by our seniors. We'll now be starting the guided questions portion of the panel. If there are any questions for the panelists during this section, attendees may send them to the host via the Zoom Q&A feature. These questions may not be answered until the Q&A section. So the first question we have for the panelists is, how did you find your passion in high school? Anirudh?
Yeah, I guess I can kick it off. So I guess I can talk a little bit about my interests both in technology, but also in linguistics, which is kind of a combination that you don't really see that often. But really, the main thing that I did was just follow the things that I enjoyed and just pursue them as deeply as I could. So I've actually always really been interested in technology in general, and I really enjoy learning about different devices and video games and things like that. So that's why when I was introduced to computer programming at elementary school, it was something that really got me hooked. So in high school, some of you guys might be aware with all the different resources at school, but really when it comes to computer science, there's also a lot of different resources available online as well. So that's really what got me interested in programming. And I'm also someone who loves enjoying problems, who enjoys solving problems, my bad. So I would say it was a natural fit. But another side of me is my interest in linguistics, which is actually, I would say is pretty unique to myself. And really my interest in linguistics came from just growing up in such a multicultural community as MSJ and watching a lot of Bollywood movies growing up. So in my family, we actually don't speak Hindi, we speak Telugu, which is another language in India. But since I'm a huge fan of Bollywood movies, I just started to try to learn Hindi a little bit. And as I started to learn Hindi, I got fascinated with similarities between Hindi and other languages that I already knew. And that kind of pulled me into linguistics. So I would say that in my personal experience, the main way that I was able to find my passions in high school was really in doing the things that I love to do and doing things that really interest me, but also pursuing them as deeply as I could and really putting my heart towards that and really seeing how far can I go with this thing that I held on to, if that makes sense.
Yusuf?
Yeah, for sure. So I think I had a lot of passions that I developed in high school, but the one I want to talk about for this question today is emergency preparedness. So my passion for emergency preparedness was kind of out of the blue. I was attending a CPR class in freshman year. And, you know, after sitting like for 2 hours in the multi-purpose room, we were all tired, like our arms were like, you know, bursting from like doing the compressions and breath counts. And our CPR instructor brought us up to the front of the room. And there were like 50 of us there. And she was like, I want to tell you guys a story. And so for the next 10 minutes or so, she told us about how she had saved her son's life, not once, but twice using CPR when he was almost drowning. And for me, this was like a really big turning point in freshman year. CPR is something that's often like intangible because you think like, I'm not going to use it ever, right? Like, who does this actually happen to? I'm just going to learn the skill. It doesn't really matter. But hearing this directly from my instructor that, wow, like there's a mom in front of me who saved her son's life twice with this skill, I was like, dang, like more people need to know about this. So I think like finding your passion for me was honestly keeping an open mind and like being open to these spontaneous experiences that came and then acting upon it. For me, after that served as the inspiration to start YEPC and bring this message of emergency preparedness to other people. So for ePrep, that's how it happened for me.
Christina?
So I really relate to what Anirudh said about just finding what you want to do in the future through your passions and what you really enjoy doing. For me, I really liked just like watching movies and just like animation and film in general. I think when I really found my passion for entertainment design was in digital imaging in my junior year. We were watching some sci-fi movies, and then we were watching the behind the scenes where they were designing all the vehicles for the movie. And I just really enjoyed all the details that went into like every individual aspect and all this, this like, I guess, the care that people took to design these things.
Sabrina?
Yeah, so for me, ever since I was little, like I've had a lot of weird diverted interests. My parents had a lot of trouble. I had a lot of headaches because I kept switching what I wanted to do when I was a kid. So people always ask you, what do you want to be? So I started out when I was a kid and I was like, I want to be a geologist because I like looking at pretty rocks, right? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Next, I said I wanted to be a veterinarian because I like animals. And then next I was like, I want to be a surgeon because I like doing things with my hands. And these things switched so many times over the years because I realized the main thing that was keeping me from finding my true passions was that I just didn't have real life experience in these fields. And that's what really high school gives you. It gives you these real life opportunities to engage deeply in what you're interested in. And it's okay if you don't know which path you're going in because you try out all these little different things and you get to know yourself a little bit better and finding these experiences. And so then I think that's why I would encourage everybody, if you don't know what you're doing, like I didn't know, like try a bunch of different clubs, like see what you can do and keep yourself open to all these things. Cause like I never imagined I would be into going to business, right? But what really solidified it for me is realizing that like looking back, like me wanting to like do garage sales, like starting my own small businesses, like selling jewelry, selling weird things on the playground, really manifested itself in this passion for creating things from the ground up. And the place that I really got to nurture this passion and this interest in business was in high school and was in clubs like DECA. And if you don't have opportunities around you to engage in these experiences for yourself, like make them for yourself. I had to go out to like find classes in community college that would offer, courses that I was interested in business because they didn't have them at Mission. So like go out and find things that you're interested in and you're passionate about and really try to do them as much as you can in a real world sense, because that's what DECA provided for me. Like, there was a real world like feedback on how I could actually pursue business in the future. So it's okay if you don't really know what you're going to be doing, but that's how I found my passion, is just trying a bunch of different things and really going hard on the things that I was passionate about and then holding on to those things that you really like.
Okay, due to our time constraints, we'll be moving on to the next question. And if you want to hear from some of the seniors who haven't talked yet, feel free to use the Q&A feature in the Zoom webinar. So our next question is, how did you balance your time between academics, extracurriculars, and having fun? Aris?
Yeah, so when playing sports or being part of any extracurricular, it's always very important to plan ahead and create a schedule to properly manage your time. Otherwise, like it did for me, it will just lead to procrastination and forgetfulness, which just leads to unnecessary stress. So it's always good to plan ahead, and if you can, finish some work early so you create extra time for yourself and your extracurriculars. In high school, you should always challenge yourself, but I would always suggest just making sure you don't take on more than you can handle. Otherwise you're just going to be stressed all 4 years, and you'd always want to make sure to have a good work-life balance and always have fun.
So seniors, tell us a little bit about your college app process. What advice do you have for juniors and underclassmen? Anirudh?
Yeah, so I think the one thing that I'm going to say is that it was much more time consuming than I had expected. So especially, but looking back at it, it was definitely completely doable to be thorough about your college applications while also doing other things on the side. You guys should enjoy your summer like always, but this just keep in mind that college applications will take up a significant portion of your time. So because of this, my main advice, I'm sure that a lot of the other seniors would say the same thing, but it would be to start as soon as possible. The sooner that you start to research college programs that you might like, the less stressful the application process might be. So there might be specific programs at specific colleges that you really like and are really a good fit for you, but you don't really know. But if you start early, you'll have enough time to talk to people who may have been in that program already, maybe do a little bit of extra research on the side so that you can really understand what you want to get out of college, which is a huge part of the process as well. And another thing that I would say really helped me in my college application process to make it a little bit more smooth would really be to work on my UC essays and my Common essays first, and really plan out what aspects of myself I want to say to the colleges that I'm applying to, or which ones do I want to present, and how do I want to present myself overall as a person. So definitely like using the UC and Common App essays really helped me figure out what version of myself I wanted to show to the colleges, and really working from there when it came to individual college related prompts really helped as well. And the last thing that I would say would be thinking about what teachers you might want to ask for recommendations pretty early as well might be pretty useful as well. I would say that really ask, and oh yeah, when it comes to asking teachers, I would also say that the main important thing would be to ask teachers who you really know and you really have a connection with, rather than I think that would be the most important thing. So yeah, that's a little bit of what I think about my college application process.
Thank you. Let's go to Crystal next.
Okay, so I think the biggest piece of advice I could give to underclassmen and juniors is to know what your work ethic is like. If you are the type of person who needs somebody to dictate strict deadlines to you and to like make sure you're doing your work on time, then I highly recommend getting a college counselor who can manage your work for you and help make sure that you are staying ahead of deadlines. Another piece of advice I think is very important is, if you cannot get a college counselor, have your friends read your essays, have your college friend read your essays, have people who have been through the college process already read your essays, people who know what to look for, who know what colleges are looking for in your essays. And I am also seconding what Anirudh said about teachers and recommendation letters. Make sure you get a close relationship with some of your teachers, so that if you ask them to write a recommendation letter for you, they can write something about you that is good. It'll make you sound good. It'll be what colleges are looking for. And another thing is, I know Mission students have a tendency to apply to like 15, 20 schools. But that's really unnecessary because all you need is one acceptance. All you need is one school to go to, and that is it. So don't overload yourself because in the end, you're only gonna get to go to one school.
Let's go to Alvin next.
I really third, I guess, what Crystal was saying to Anirudh's first. Really just honing in on what it is you're passionate about. I think we hear this be thrown around a lot, but there is a lot of truth to it, which is it's really not about the college you go to. It's really about you as an individual. I think looking into the college that's the best fit for you is really important as well. So for example, for me throughout the process, I knew that I really wanted to go to a liberal arts college that really invested a lot of time in the undergraduate experience. And so really making sure and understanding that, what different colleges offer, all of that is really critical, and sort of figuring out, which colleges are the most natural fit for you. Don't just apply to certain institutions because of the names. Also similar to what Crystal was saying earlier, don't apply to a crap load of colleges. That's a terrible idea. Again, apply to the ones that you know for sure that are ones that you really want to go to. For me personally too, I didn't really have a college counselor throughout the process, and so I relied on Quora a lot to answer a lot of questions, so that was super helpful. I also sent a lot of my essays to my older friends already in college to do a lot of my editing, and that really helped get me through the process as well.
And our last senior for this question will be Yusuf.
Thanks, Meg. I want to split what I'm going to tell you guys into 3 parts. The first thing I want to say is pretty specific, and it's something that I experienced and a lot of my friends experienced. So all of you guys are going to reach out to someone for essay editing help, and that's perfect. Please do it. Like Alvin said, it's really important to reach out to people. Their advice is going to help you be better. But one thing that I struggled with and a lot of my friends struggled with is losing the driver's seat when you're writing your essays. It's really easy, especially like if you're working with someone a lot older, they'll tell you what to write or they'll give you edits and you start feeling like you're losing control of the story you want to say. And that's what you want to avoid that. You are the best person who can tell your story because it is your story. And it's important to get the advice from everyone around you, but stay strong in that driver's seat. You should be the one who knows where you're headed in this application process. So be aware of that. For me, that was tough, and I lost focus of that driver's seat a lot of the times, especially in the early months of October and November. After that, I would say it's really important in essays, I think, to tell a story. And I got this advice from my 2 older brothers who have been absolutely instrumental in helping me become who I am today, that you want to take your audience in the same emotional journey that you went through in your life. So all of us have had an amazing, special story here at Mission, but only you know it in your heart. But your job in this process is to get the reader to also experience that same journey with you. And so whatever story it is that winds that together, do that, write it. And you'll feel it when you're writing. You're going to have those days where you're like, dang, this Google Doc is just absolute trash. And you'll have those moments like right before sunset where you feel like you're J.K. Rowling and you're writing the next Harry Potter. Focus on writing that story and bringing your reader with the same emotional journey that you felt in your life. And then the last thing I want to say is, this summer and in the fall, have some sort of small like relaxation time that brings you away from this whole process that can seem like the world is crashing down around you. For me, that was every Friday going and playing basketball at Hopkins with my friends. Every week on Fridays for 2 hours, I'd go out and play basketball, and it would be a nice like end to the week to just hang out and relax with them. And please have that like mental health time for yourself at the end of the week so you don't burn out. It's really easy to burn out. And yeah, ditto everything else everybody else just said.
All right, let's move on to our next question, which is what advice do you have on networking and how has it helped you advance your high school career? All right, let's go with ours first.
So yeah, I would definitely say you should take risks and don't be afraid to reach out to people. A lot of people really do want to help you, and if you don't take advantage of networking, you can miss out on a lot of opportunities. When you're in classes, don't be afraid to meet new people and talk to new people. You shouldn't constrain yourself to your own little social bubble. For example, looking for a real estate internship, I emailed probably around 40 or 50 different real estate agents in search for one opportunity. And finally, after a good week of contacting, I finally got one reply, and that's all it took. And yeah.
All right, Anirudh, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I would say that the number one thing to keep in mind when it comes to networking, or like just in general meeting people in high school, is just to reach out. I would say that most people at our school, especially people in like 10th, 11th, 12th grade, they're going to be on Messenger anyway. You'll be able to like search them up by their name, maybe see their profile picture, and just shoot them a message. I know that myself particularly, I'm like pretty active on Messenger, but I'm also sure that a lot of other upperclassmen are as well. And people are really helpful if you're willing to ask. So I would definitely say, don't be afraid to shoot a text at people who you think are doing interesting things. Maybe they're the leader of an interesting club that you're doing, or maybe they're doing something outside of school that you heard of, maybe like in like Smoke Signal. If you see something about them and you want to reach out, learn more about it, feel free to send them a text. I would say that probably like 90% of the people who you send a text to would be happy to help. And this also includes teachers and admin as well. I would say that probably 90% of the teachers at our school as well, they're willing to help, and they're honestly they're a teacher because they want to help you learn, right? So one of the best ways to make connections with your teachers is simply to send them a loop mail about things that you might have a little bit of trouble with and you might need a little bit of help on, and they honestly really appreciate it as well, I would say. Since yeah, at the end of the day, they just want to help you with what you're struggling with. So yeah.
All right, Christina.
So I second what everyone else said, but just adding on, I felt like summer programs really help you and network outside of mission, and also help you with your particular major. In my case, I went to CCA, which is the California College of the Arts pre-college program, and I met a lot of people there who shared my interests. And then I also met a lot of professors who were working in the field, and they were like really helpful and just I guess familiar with people. So then they give you your like they can also give you recommendations. They also give you like contact information in case you have any questions about actually working in the industry, and just like anything in that particular major that you want to ask them about. So definitely do look for opportunities outside of mission, and just be kind and respectful to everyone, and just be open.
All right, let's go to Crystal.
So this is kind of specific to performing arts students, but I'm a singer. I have performed. I have competed nationwide and internationally, and through talking with other singers, through talking with the people that I have competed with, performed with, I have met people who I have met, and I've worked with teachers that the professors from Juilliard, from Manhattan School of Music, from Curtis, from music schools from all over the place. So yeah, my biggest piece of advice is that I just seconding what everybody else is saying. People want to help you. People are there to help you. So there's no need to feel afraid to ask for help. And through this way, you will obtain so many more opportunities. So I just want to say, just be brave, just ask for help, go up to somebody and say, hey, that was really cool what you did just there. How did you do that? Can you teach me how to do that? And people will be willing to help you.
We'll be moving on to the next question. So what are the most important skills you've learned from MSJ, and how do you plan to apply these skills in your future endeavors? Yusuf?
Sure, thank you, Amanda. I wanted to touch a little bit more, my important skill is kind of about networking and one more facet of that. So I think the first part of what I'm going to say is, to put it shortly, it's taking the uncomfortable step even though you don't want to. And so I want to give you guys like two sides to the story. So I told you guys that I'm a runner and I do track and field and cross country, but I also really like playing basketball, like you heard from when I was talking about the college application process. And one of my regrets in high school, which is kind of funny, and I'm fine that it didn't happen, but I really wished I had tried out for the basketball team in my freshman and sophomore years. Not really because I wish I could have been on the basketball team. It's just that I was so scared of what everyone else would think around me when I went to the gym and tried out as a freshman or sophomore. Like, what is Yusuf doing here? He's trying to try out for the basketball team. And so that was an early moment in high school where I didn't take the uncomfortable step. And I regret it to this day. I really wish that I had pushed myself But the flip side of that is in sophomore year, I'm in STEM, right? I'm gonna be hopefully going to medical school and getting involved in something like smoke signal, which is like about journalism and doesn't really have a direct connection to STEM, was a little bit different than all the other students around me who were interested in medicine. And so for me, I was like, I'm still gonna apply for smoke signal because I see a lot of value in it. And I've heard from upperclassmen and my older brothers that it can bring some really great value to my life. And after applying and taking that step, I can confidently say now that applying to smoke signal was the best decision I made in high school, no doubt. And so I've been on those two sides of this dilemma that we face. You guys are going to come across these points in high school. Maybe you want to talk to like a certain friend about a project you want to start. Maybe you want to like interact more with a teacher that you connect well with. Maybe you have an idea for this crazy club on campus, but you're too scared about what everyone's going to think about you. Say like, screw it, I'm going to do it and go ahead with it. Even if you fail, all the seniors here will tell you they've tried things like that and they failed. They still learn so much from that experience. And if you don't do it, you'll never know and you'll feel that regret. So my first important skill that I learned was learning to take the uncomfortable step, no matter how big and small it was or small it was. And the second thing was also about networking, and specifically, I know like all the other panelists talked a lot about it, but I want to focus specifically on teachers and strangers. So a quick story, I was in a park last week. I was playing Frisbee with my friends and I was wearing a Yale shirt. And this lady came up to me and she asked me like, are you going to Yale in the fall? And I said, yeah, I am. And I didn't really talk to her that much anymore. Went back to playing Frisbee and my friends were like, yo, Yusuf, you should like get her contact information and talk to her afterwards. And I was like, no, that's weird. Like, what is she going to think about me? I don't want to do that. But they ended up convincing me to do it. So I got her contact information. And just yesterday, I had a Zoom call with her and she connected me with a medical school student who I'm in contact with now. So it's like these small random moments where you have that courage and you're like, okay, I want to talk to this person. And one thing snowballs into another and you have an amazing network. So do that with people you see who are strangers. They want to help you. Second of all, I want to say like teachers are like so they're so invaluable at mission. And I think that it's like the default mindset that we don't think of them as the same way we think of like friends or other people we want to connect deeply with. I would highly encourage every student to like every teacher you have, try to make them be your friend. Just how you would do for a classmate. You guys will talk about similar interests and stuff. Go beyond talking to your teacher, beyond like the classroom assignments. Figure out what they're interested in. Treat them like you would your best friend. Their advice and support is second to none at Mission. And I can't tell you how many times a teacher at Mission has changed my life. And I wish I had networked more with them. So yeah, those are the two things I wanted to say, networking and taking the uncomfortable step whenever you can.
Sahil?
Yeah, wow, Yusuf covered a lot of what I wanted to say, but I wanted to cover a different level of basically perseverance. Perseverance is super important for Mission, in my opinion, because I feel like this school has a tendency to beat you down. And if you don't have a proper support structure, if you don't have the right resources, then it's really hard to get back up. I've been there, I've been in that position, and I'm here where I am today because of the support structure and the resources at Mission that I took advantage of. And I feel like it's important just to change your mindset as a whole, because I think having a growth mindset is a skill in and of itself. Instead of, having a one-track mind with, set certain goals, that you're set, you're not moving from them. Goal setting is great, but I believe that you need to be able to grow with your goals. And as your experiences grow, I feel like your goals should be able to change like that. I had a similar experience where originally when I came into high school, I thought, wow, I love space so much, I'm gonna go to space, that'd be it, right? But as I entered high school and as I got more experiences through L2, through peer resource, through the Boy Scouts, serving my community, I realized that there's a lot of things I can do here on Earth, and more specifically here in my community, to make this place better for everyone. And now I firmly believe that community service is a strong part of myself. and I hold that very dearly. Now, ultimately, whenever I was down in the dirt, I always took a moment, I stepped back, and I thought, what am I fighting for? What am I doing this for? I imagined in my head a horizon and everything in front of the horizon, everything I can see. Sure, it may look bleak, but then I thought real hard and looked over the horizon. What lay ahead of me? What couldn't I see? And there are wonderful things in store for me, you, everyone here. There are great things for us. We just have to go get them. We have to keep persevering, keep walking, no matter how hard the wind blows in our face. You just have to keep moving forward.
Alvin?
Yeah, wow. I don't know if I can really match Yusuf and Sahil there, but they really touched on everything, and I think I really just want to echo that. Something I've really learned that's so important, I think, for everyone to know throughout your 4 years is really a combination of what both Sahil and Yusuf were talking prior, which is the importance of really pushing yourself out there and having these new experiences. Because I think one defining thing that any adult is going to tell you is that they are shaped by their experiences. And it comes back to that age-old adage, right? You are what you eat, right? You're really shaped by the environment around you. And so for me personally, one example I think about is we were at a conference in Sacramento and we had to present a policy proposal. For us, it was closing the achievement gap in our education system to the State Board of Education. And it's a really daunting thing, right? The buildings next to the Capitol, you walk in, they're all on podiums, these are all really daunting adults, and the state superintendent is right there listening. And our group ended up doing pretty well in the presentation. And it took a lot of courage to really put yourself out there and expose yourself in those new situations. But it worked out, and now I'm texting buddies with the state superintendent, so been helping out a lot. Another thing that it reminds me of is just the importance of really just perseverance and stepping out of your comfort zone. So, for example, a while ago, we had some issues with some advocacy conflicts that were happening in SF. And so literally overnight, a whole team quit because there's some political nuances over a ballot measure that was happening. And I remember that week, me and another friend of mine that was from Oakland, we literally BARTed to SF every single day for that week. I skipped like 3 days of school that week. And we were literally just in SF focused on rebuilding our team. Now, some folks might say, was that the right investment of your time? But at the end of the day, if it's truly something you're passionate about, perseverance is really critical in achieving that. And I think the last piece of this is putting yourself into new experiences really helps shape your perspective, and it gives you a more global, more cultural perspective. And so one thing that I've really noticed is, students face a lot of different outcomes and experiences from Fremont. We definitely live in this little MSJ bubble. You literally go to students going to districts 30 minutes away, from OUSD or other districts, and they'll tell you their experiences are so much more different than what we have here at MSJ. And I think here at Mission San Jose, we take so many things for granted. And I think that's really opened up my perspective even more to the power of policy to not only change outcomes, but more importantly, how powerful education can be as a tool to really address so many systemic inequities. And so I think for me, the biggest thing throughout my 4 years was just putting myself out there in uncomfortable situations and using those experiences to really help me grow and develop as an individual.
Anirudh?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think the first thing I want to say is that I think everyone's responses pretty much hit like almost every aspect, like on pretty much every aspect on the nose, and really good work. But apart from that, I think there's two things that I really wanted to kind of elaborate a little bit more about just from my personal experience. And I would say that the number one lesson that I learned at my time during my time at Mission would be the importance of forming a strong support system that can help you get through any difficulties. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but sometimes Mission, or not even Mission, just high school in general, can just get really tough at times. I mean, you're trying to figure out who you like, what your interests are, and you're trying to really figure out, like, you're trying to balance your grades, your extracurriculars, maybe some sports that you might have, and really just learn about yourself as a person, and that can get really tough sometimes. But I would say that the main thing to remember is that you guys are not alone in this entire process. And I would say that having people that I could lean on for advice and for people who could share my struggles with me was probably one of the main things that allowed me to make it through. And also, when you have a strong support system, you're able to form so many memories and you're really able to make your experience in high school that much richer. I would say the second lesson that I learned at Mission would be the importance of really loving everything that you do. So this is like really, really cliche, but it's also like, and it's also very much easier said than done. But it really, really helps when you try to understand, especially academically, when you try to understand the complexities and the beauty of the things that you might not really quite understand yet. Let me tell you guys a story about my own personal experiences. So I'm somebody who's more of a STEM person, right? I'm going into CS. I like solving problems. I like math. I am not somebody who's interested very much in literature or writing or things like that. I mean, that's just something that I haven't really been exposed to, and that's just something that I have a little bit more difficulty doing. But um, but on top of that, I think a lot of the times stepping into the shoes of somebody who is really passionate about those things and truly really understanding why they are passionate about those things and trying to do that for yourself really helps you get a richer understanding of everything that you're doing. And that really goes into extracurriculars. Maybe if there's a class that you might have that's really difficult, that really like helps to get that kind of understanding. But also it helps with picking extracurriculars. I would say that the number one advice that I would give to anybody who asked me anything would be that if there is something that you're doing as an extracurricular, you should make sure that you really enjoy it. There's for two reasons, right? Number one, life is short. You don't really have enough time in life to be doing things that you don't want to be doing, that you're not going to be enjoying doing, right? And the second thing would be that I would say that in my personal experience, the activities that I have really been able to do the most in have been activities that I really enjoyed doing. Because sometimes when you enjoy something so much, you can put 110% into that without it really feeling like too much struggle. And yeah, it is really true that sometimes there are situations where you're going to be put in situations that you don't enjoy. And as I said earlier, it's much easier said than done. But really going into that with a growth mindset, as a lot of the other seniors have said for this question, and trying to think of the positives and really going into it with that mindset has really helped me. And I would say that it's been the number one most important lesson that I learned.
All right. For our next question, we'll be going, what do you wish you would have done differently in high school? All right, Aris.
So yeah, I would definitely say I missed out on a lot of social event opportunities. I should have attended more games and social events such as sports games and dances. I wish I participated in more things like homecoming. High school's only 4 years long, so I definitely regret like not taking opportunities to meet new people and get more involved with the school. I was always like, especially my first 2 years of high school, I was always like, oh, no, homecoming's boring, it's whack, whatever. But now that it's all said and done, I definitely wish I did take the opportunity to participate in helping decorate the school or be part of an air band. And yeah.
All right. Sahil.
Yeah, there's a lot of points throughout my high school career now that I look back where I realize there's something I could have done here. There's a different road I could have taken. Going back to Yusuf's point about taking that uncomfortable step, I feel like I've been through that a ton of times, and I'm sure all of you guys have been too. Not being, of course, I'm really happy with what I've gotten to accomplish today, but I can't help but think, what could I've done if I've taken that one extra step? If I reached out to that one person who I thought was really interesting and they knew something about what I wanted to do. That is one of the things that I wish I could have done in retrospect, you know? Also, I think I would have fared much better if I invested much more heavily in my friend group, in my friends, you know, and the people around me. I think a lot of times when we feel like we don't have support, kind of alluding back to my previous question, when we feel like we don't have support, we rely on the people that are directly around us to raise us back up again. And in that respect, I feel like I could have done better, not only looking to my friends for support, but supporting my friends when they needed it. And later on, as I realized that, you know, support systems are very important at Mission, I joined MSJ Peer Resource. And in a capacity, we do provide a support system for people through our peer mentor and our peer circles program. but I feel like personally I could have done more to help myself and help other people succeed.
All right, Sabrina.
Yeah. So talking about things that, looking back on high school, how I wish I kind of did things differently. I think the main thing that I would say, honestly, is just to be less scared of things. Because, like, I went into high school caring so much about what people think, caring so much about how I came across other people, that I really limited myself in, like, what things I could or couldn't do because friends were doing something that I wasn't doing, or that I wanted to try something new that I was scared of doing. And I was scared of, like, how people would perceive me. And honestly, looking back now, like, being in a position where, like, I've gone through all these things and I've tried all these new activities, I can honestly say, and I guess this is true for everybody, like, nobody cares what you're doing. If you, like, for me, I really regretted not joining the tennis team when I went into high school because I was worried that other people, like, I was worried that either I wasn't good enough to join the team or that maybe my friends weren't doing it, so I would be lonely there. And the thing, honestly, is just to, like, have a lot more faith in myself, to be able to, go through these difficult times in high school and be able to learn and grow from these uncomfortable situations. I think something that kind of carries through with everything and everybody has said so far is to, welcome these uncomfortable situations where you have opportunities to step out of your comfort zone and grow beyond what you think you can do. And I would just say, like, I missed out on so many cool opportunities to join organizations or to meet new people. And I don't remember, like, any of the times where I tried something and I got rejected because I tried. But I do remember every single time that I missed out on an opportunity because I just didn't go for it at all. Because I think about, like, what potential I could have gained from doing that experience. And now, looking back, I really wish that I just went for all those opportunities that I just was too scared to do. And I guess the second part of that is not just, not being, like, not doing things because you're scared, but doing things too late. So procrastinating on the things that you want to do, procrastinating on your ideas. If you always say, like, oh, I'm going to start this big project eventually after I do finals, after I do this, after I do that, you're never going to get around to doing it. Once I reach college applications process, I got really stressed because I was like, I have so many things that I wanted to do going into high school that I haven't done yet. And a big part of that was just because I felt that it wasn't the right time to do things. But that, idea of the right time, that's never going to be there because you have to take the initiative to do whatever projects you want to do. And you create and take the initiative on creating your own high school experience. And if you don't be proactive in that, you're never going to get a chance to do that again because high school is such a unique support system where you have the opportunity to make all these mistakes and you have the opportunity to try new projects and to fail and get back up and succeed again. And you really just need to go for everything that you do. So I think that if I, main things that I would have done differently in high school is really just, focus more on what I wanted to do and be proactive in pursuing those passions. And also just, like, being less scared to pursue those passions in the first place because you're going to be limiting yourself so much.
Okay, we'll be moving on to the next question, but before that, I just want to remind everyone of our community guidelines to ask mature and proper questions in the chat. These seniors are being very gracious with their time and their experiences, and they're letting people hear them and learn from them. So let's please be respectful in the Q&A box. So our next question will be, what were the best and hardest parts of high school for you? Aris?
Oh man, okay. Where can I start? I mean, through all the ups and downs in high schools, there's a lot of memories you make, both good and bad. But I'd definitely say some of the best parts for me was the soccer seasons because like it's just great to be around people that have the same passion for sport as you do. Me and my teammates would always just hang out after school, get something to eat at the snack bar, and then go to practice or the games together. If you're an underclassman, it's like your perfect time to meet, like, your school parents. Like when I was a freshman, I'd have a senior that would drive me around to every game in practice. So it was great, and I'm still in contact with them today. Another amazing part of high school for me was DECA, specifically the DECA competitions. You get to prepare for the competition with your group, or if you're solo, you prepare solo, but still. And obviously it was, like, super fun to be on a trip with your friends, going to the hotel and competing together and hanging out for a whole weekend. And yeah, like I said, there's also obviously some challenging parts. I would say the parts I found more challenging for me was definitely being able to manage my time. I was horrible at time management my freshman and sophomore year. I would turn everything in late. I would forget to study for certain classes, and it just wasn't good. And staying concentrated in classes were really hard for me because I was always just super distracted and just messing around all the time. But over my years in high school, as you mature, you definitely improve and develop better habits. So yeah.
Thank you. Yusuf?
Yeah, I had the same first initial response as Ari's and where I should start. And for him, I know soccer was a big thing. And the first memory I wanted to say was also from my athletics. A lot of my best memories in high school for sure came from my time on the cross country and track and field teams. This ranged from this thing we would do at practice where we would like take these small acorns and like throw it at each other lightly while we were all sitting around in a circle and just have fun with each other. Or it was like something as extreme as going through a really tough workout with each other, and being together in that like physical pain almost, but achieving a higher goal. And those were really great memories for me because even if it was something small like the acorn thing or something big as like improving my time for a race, I knew I was building some of the best relationships in my life. And I can say that right now, all the friends I've made from cross country and track and field, they're always with me. They're just a phone call away. I'm there to help them. They're there to help me. I think other really great memories of best parts of high school were in class. Like I feel like for me, the friends I made in class, even if it was, regardless of whether it was a tough or an easy class, working together with someone in an academic environment where you two are both going through the struggles together is something so special. And one thing I'd recommend to everyone, and I really wish I had done more of this, is kind of going back to the regret question, is keeping some way to document your thoughts and feelings. For me, that was keeping a small journal, which I've kind of slacked off on and I hope I can get back onto, but I would really recommend keeping a journal or some place where you can document your feelings and thoughts as you go through these great points of high school. And yeah, coming back to the friends thing, yeah, going together with a friend in a class that was tough or easy, it's something really special about going through that year-long grind with them, and that for me built lifelong relationships. For me, the hardest parts in high school, I think, were the times where I let like my insecurities and my fears overtake what I wanted to do. So that was things like worrying about what people would think of me if I tried to try out for the basketball team, being scared of what I would wear to school, um, being scared of asking a teacher for something, not reaching out to one of those classmates in my class that I thought were pretty cool. Those are the hardest points for me because I was like, I know there's something beyond this if I can get over this hump, but I just can't bring myself to get over it. And for me, that just goes back to like taking that uncomfortable step. Everything's going to be okay, even if it doesn't go how you planned out. So yeah, I'd say those are the best and the hardest parts of high school for me.
Thank you. Let's go to Sahil next.
Yeah, honestly, we have a lot of overlap when it comes to good times. I feel like personally, all the small moments at Mission, they're really the things to look forward to. And when you look back on them, you just think, wow, I really did enjoy this school. It's all the small moments ranging from, maybe you're messing around while you have a dissection in biology, and you're messing around with that frog. Or maybe you're in PE and you're trying to sneak out, try to get a head start on that mile, or anything, a multitude of things. All of it comes together to create this great experience that just keeps you going through the high school. Now, I think personally for me, the best time, the best part of high school has been either pretty much this year, because this year was really the chance where I got to give back to my high school community through L2 and peer resource serving as a peer mentor officer, where I led a program which gave kids who needed help on campus the help they needed. They got the support, they got academic advice, they got emotional advice, they got all of that. And it felt really great to not only, give this advice and run such a great program, but working with people who have similar goals like me, who want to help and give back to the community. I think personally, I'm at my best when I'm serving the community of Mission alongside people who have the same goal in mind. And I really love that part of high school, in my opinion.
So now we'll be taking our 5-minute break and we'll be returning back at 6:04.
And before we leave, we would like to apologize for the obscene lack of maturity presented by some of the people present here in the panel. We would like to remind you that the Q&A feature is for your use, for you to ask questions to the seniors. They're putting in a lot of time and a lot of effort into this panel. And we would like if you guys could show some maturity and show that you are grown-ups, you are people who can handle their own responsibilities. Thank you so much. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We will now be moving on to the Q&A section. The audience may now ask questions they may have for either general or specific panelists. Questions can be sent to the host via the Zoom Q&A feature. And just another reminder, please be mature.
Speakers will also include their contact info in the chat in case anyone has personal questions for them. So our first question will be, how do we go about asking for letters of rec? Crystal?
Literally, all you have to do is send them an email. Just send them an email asking your favorite teacher, a teacher you have your closest relationship with, to write you a letter of rec for some college, some program, and 90% of the time they will be more than willing to help you. The process is not as hard as people make it out to be, or as it's not as difficult as people think it is. It's really as easy as sending an email.
Sahil?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Crystal. Like, you just got to go out and do it. But at the same time, looking at the broader picture, which is what you may have been referring to, it's very important that you establish a relationship with a teacher that is, one, interested in the same things as you are, two, knows you. Like, you don't have just a superficial relationship. You actually take time to talk to them about your interests. And yeah, but there's a very, very large disclaimer to this. Don't make your relationships with the end intention of getting a rec letter. Don't see, everyone here agrees. Don't become chums with the teacher just for the end purpose of getting a rec letter from them. That is not, first of all, that is not cool. That's not cool at all. Second of all, that should not be your purpose when establishing meaningful relationships at Mission. Establish them because you want to establish them, because you want a good network. And afterwards, use the letter of recommendation as an after fact.
And let's go to Christina for our last senior on this question.
As Sahil and Crystal said, you should just go for email them. And some teachers are aware that seniors do need recommendation letters, and they will send like a loop mail to everyone, like giving you like either like a Google form to fill out, or just like telling you, oh, you need to have like certain like I guess you have to meet certain requirements to get this letter of recommendation. It really depends on each teacher. But yes, be disrespectful, be kind to teachers. Just don't take advantage of them, as Sahil said. And there are some areas in the Common App where they allow you to have recommenders outside of the high school. So if you have like private classes outside, be it like singing or music lessons, art lessons, and you do have teachers outside, you can also add them as recommenders.
All right. So the next question is, what made you get selected as leader of your club, and when did you start participating in it? All right. We'll go with Yusuf.
Yeah. And I do want to preface what I'm going to say. I know it's a lot easier for us to talk about things like this because we're seniors and we finished a lot of these processes. And I remember when I was a junior or sophomore, freshman, I was worried so much about this. So just want to preface it by saying I know it's easy for us to talk about these things, and especially this question as well. For becoming a leader of the club, in my experience, there were a lot of clubs where I messed up actually, and I think I was focused too much on getting the leadership position and I didn't. And so I think the best way to approach that is similar to how Sahil said, don't get close with the teacher for the sake of getting the recommendation letter. Don't go crazy in an extracurricular just so you can have president next to your name. Everyone will see through it. The people who are selecting you for the leader will see through it. Do it because you actually care about it. All these seniors here, they love what they do. And that's why when you hear them talk, they have so much passion in it. And the leader stuff that just comes as a second nature. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't focus on it. You need to show initiative, show that you care about it, show when you're lower in the organization, lower in the club, that you have new ideas that, hey, I'm going to move the club and organization forward where it hasn't been before. But I really want to say that don't do it with the focus of getting that position. People will see through it immediately.
All right, Anirudh.
Yeah, I just really wanted to second what Yusuf was saying about making sure that you're doing like you're really putting in the work because you want to, not just because of the like leadership position. And I think another thing that I wanted to kind of emphasize on, yeah, like just like us, like the club officers, the upperclassmen, they're like people too. They can see right through like anything that you might be like trying to pull. So definitely be genuine. And I think that's one of the biggest things that may help you if you're interested in having a leadership position in a club or in some sort of a student organization that you want to. I would also say that the second thing that is pretty important in my personal experience, I know that, yeah, this one thing that I would say is really important in my personal experience is that it doesn't really just end after you get the leadership position. Do keep in mind that all of the leadership positions and stuff like that are time commitments, and really your success as a leader of that club really is determined by how you bring that club forward, and really making sure that your passion is clear to the people who are upperclassmen or who may be looking for new officers is a great way to kind of show your interest and also to get that leadership position that you want. And the third thing that I also want to say is that there's a lot of opportunities at Mission. And if there's an opportunity for something that may not necessarily exist yet, you can make those opportunities for yourself really easily. So actually, in my personal experience, I'm actually like one of the founders of our school's linguistics club. And last year, our school didn't have that club, but I thought that was something that was really interesting because despite our school being pretty STEM oriented, there's a lot of people who are really interested in humanities. And I also found that in my personal experience, linguistics and math actually had a lot of similarities that I kind of wanted to show and kind of wanted to talk about during the club. So really forming your own clubs, joining student organizations like L2 and Peer Resource or Smoke Signal are also really great ways to get involved on campus. Honestly, there's like just you name it, right? And if there's something that you don't have, you can just make your own club, or you can talk to people who might also be interested in it. Honestly, the possibilities are endless as long as you're driven enough to expound on those possibilities.
And Sabrina?
Yeah, I ditto what everybody else said. Some more concrete things that I would probably say to focus on is like, obviously you need the prerequisite of being genuinely passionate and being really, interested in what that organization is doing. So first thing you need to do, is really take a lot of initiative in that organization. You spend a lot more time than you think you're just asked to do, and do way more than what people ask you to do, because you want to go above and beyond for what you're passionate about, right? And showing that passion and showing that like you're willing to do whatever you want, like you're willing to do whatever you can to make that organization powerful and good, and pursue your vision on it. That's what's going to get you to have other people believe in what you're doing and believe in your skills and trust you with a leader position, because it's not you getting the leadership position. It's somebody trusting you with an organization and trusting you to carry that vision through. And I would probably say something that we talk a lot about in Smoke Signal internally, if you have any friends in Smoke Signal, if you know any of us, we talk a lot about, performing a position before you get it. So practicing, looking like seeing people in the positions you want as like mentors, and, asking for their advice a lot, and being, sure about what you want to learn from them and being able to practice those skills in yourself. And a big part of that is having good communication skills and being able to empathize with your team members and being able to work together really well, because that's the key thing that a leader would probably do is, being able to work with a lot of good people, because that's the prerequisite for basically any leadership position. And a big disclaimer is like a lot of us, we can talk a lot about like what we think the best like choice are, the reasons that we have like leadership positions are. But again, a lot of it is also just like being in the right time, the right place. Sometimes it is out of your control. And so don't stress too much about it if you don't get a particular leadership position. And again, everything should be because you have a vision for it, because having that passion as a prerequisite makes everything else so much easier. And your genuine interest will shine in what you do. And, if you don't have an organization where you have that interest, like Anirudh said, make your own and forge your own path for yourself. So yeah.
So the next question is, how did you find opportunities to explore your interests? Was it through Facebook or another platform, or did you make your own opportunities? Aris?
Yeah, so in my opinion, in today's world, when everything is slowly moving towards, everything is digital nowadays, right? I mean, you can just go on Instagram and within a couple taps, you can find some club you can join. The year I joined DECA, I found out by DECA by scrolling through Instagram stories, and I saw someone's post about DECA, and I was like, oh, if you'd like to join DECA today, just swipe up. And I read about it, and I was like, oh, okay, a business club, like I'm starting to to like business a little. So I was like, okay, all right. So yeah, it went on from there. And like I said, just don't be sorry, as we spoke about earlier, networking is key. With that, if that means friends, teachers, whoever's kind of part of a club, you can talk to them, see maybe if you'd be interested in it. I know a lot of the L2 kids and the ASB officers, they're always posting about some sort of club or opportunity, so you don't want to miss it. And another thing you do is you can always try to find a mentor. Like, you don't have to go solo. Everything, like personally for me, like I said, my interest was business. So I have a friend who's very educated on the topic, and I wasn't scared to ask him for help. So, now he's one of my closest friends and a mentor to me. So we both learn and grow together. So yeah, opportunities are around the corner. You just have to be persistent, and you have to keep networking and meeting new people, because that one person might just change your life. You never know. Like, sorry, if I didn't meet that mentor of mine, I probably never would have gotten into business how I did, or get into real estate or stocks, etc. Like, that one person really did change my life, and like anyone else can be in my position. Just don't be scared to network and meet new people, and opportunities will flood in.
Alvin?
Yeah, I think this ties back really well into the folks that answered the question about networking earlier. Networking is really, honestly, absolutely critical in getting new opportunities. But I think one thing that's also really important to discuss is how you go about finding these new opportunities. I think the way people generally approach networking also needs to be really finite. So you're not going into this with the goal of just cold emailing everyone, right? You want to first understand the space you're operating in. You want to make it meaningful and impactful, right? So if you're looking for a political internship, let's say you want to work for a campaign, right? Super simple, right? You find a campaign and a candidate whose policy platforms you truly believe in, visit their campaign website, especially for more local campaigns. They do phone banks and community banks all the time, and you start from a volunteer and kind of slowly work up. And also, in the space that you're actually in, it's also important to be very vocal as well, and really put yourself out there, right? Bring your boss coffee every morning. I don't know, say hi to them every morning, say bye, whatever it takes to get them to remember you. Building those relationships are so important, because not only is that part of expanding and really building on your network, but you don't know what they could do for you in the future, maybe once you're coming out with your bachelor's degree, right? And so that's something really important to keep in mind as well. I think what Ari's talked about, having a mentor, is really critical as well. Provide opportunities. I think a lot of people, especially if you talk to adults, they'll agree, a college degree is honestly like 10% of it. I mean, a college degree at the end of the day doesn't really take you really far out. It's really about who you know and your ability to network when it comes to landing jobs. And so I think the final piece is really focus on building up the EQ aspect as well, right? So expanding on those soft skills is something that really isn't talked about at Mission. I think a lot of these things come organically. If you're super passionate about public policy or something, and you found an initial opportunity working for a think tank or something, right? Once you get into that initial job, your opportunities are going to start expanding, because you're going to learn more and really understand the space. And that ties in back to the piece about EQ, right? Practice your public speaking skills, practice your communication skills, even the way you present yourself and making first impressions, all of that is absolutely critical. And so really make sure you hone in on your soft skills too when you're talking about networking, because I think a lot of times that's not really something that's really understood or mentioned when it comes to networking. But also, again, just the final thing, definitely cold email opportunities, email organizations. Don't be afraid to take that first step and ask.
Thank you. Our next question is for those of you who got into multiple colleges. So if you did get into multiple colleges, which one did you choose to go to, and why how did you make that choice, basically? Anirudh?
Yeah, I actually think this is a really good question, because it's something that I hadn't actually necessarily thought about very much when I was going through the college application process. I think when I was doing my college research, there was just a lot of colleges that I thought were like amazing. Their programs were like crazy. Their opportunities were insane. But once I actually got into a couple of those programs, actually making that decision was actually pretty tough, because there's just so many other things that you have to take into consideration, like academically and also besides academics. So in my personal case, I actually got into two programs that I really, really wanted to get into, two of my top programs. So one was MIT, which I'm going to be going to in the fall. And the second one was the MET program at Berkeley. So that's a dual degree between computer science and business. So both of those opportunities were absolutely amazing. But in the process of trying to figure out which college I wanted to go to, really what helped me the most was kind of like putting it down on paper and really thinking about what factors do I really care about when it comes to the colleges that I'm going to be choosing. So I think some factors that you might want to consider are, for example, the academic culture. Is it like competitive or is it more collaborative, or how is that like? Maybe like the weather. I know that Massachusetts is a really, really cold place compared to the Bay Area. And really thinking about what do you want to get out of college? I think in my personal case, what I really wanted to get was to really widen my experiences and understand more about what was going on in the world. And I really, in my personal case, I would say that I wanted to go to MIT because the Bay Area is somewhere that I've lived in all my life. And really having a broader experience, going to somewhere else, going to the East Coast and having new experiences, meeting new people outside of California was something that I really wanted to do. But it may be different for everybody. And it was different for me. It was different and it's definitely different for every single person. It's a case by case basis. So really assessing why you want to go to college, what do you want to get out of those 4 years at college, and what culture you want to fit in most, because you're going to be living there for 4 years at the end of the day. So it's kind of like deciding where you want to live, right? Just think about what really matters to you the most, I would say, is the most important thing. And I think another thing that I wanted to touch on before moving on to someone else who might want to answer the question would be that there's always like two sides to the coin that you would want to consider. The first side would be like the very objective, like how much does it cost? How's the weather like? How is the community like? Things like that. And then the second kind of aspect would be the emotional side. How connected am I to that community, and how connected and how do I feel like I might fit into that community, if that makes sense? So I would definitely say that those things are really different. And what helped me was keeping those things separate and really assessing both things separately. So on like the objective side, making like a list of things and really like weighing things out, whatever works for you, really helped me. But at the end of the day, you want to kind of make sure that your emotional side doesn't overtake whatever, like, or your emotional feelings about each school doesn't overtake the actual objective facts. And in a similar vein, you don't want those objective facts to kind of overtake your emotional feelings or your gut feeling about those schools. Both of those things are extremely important, but they're also very separate. So I would say that taking both things and then assessing both of them separately to make that final decision was something that helped me a lot.
Thank you. Let's go to Sabrina next.
Yeah, building off what Anirudh just said, I think the first thing obviously to consider is all these objective things, like these hard things that are going to be limiting factors for you. Cost is a big thing for a lot of people, maybe potentially location and academics. But I would say, like Anirudh said, past that, the big thing that you want to research is, at least for me, it was culture. Because what I had to do was think about myself, like think about the past 4 years of high school. What community and what like works best for me, what is going to build me the best, the most, and what's going to be the best investment for myself, not necessarily for my future or not necessarily for my career, but like just overall in general, what makes me feel the best, where I can work the best and be the most potential like successful that I can be. And so then for me, reflecting a lot of my time in high school, like something that I considered a lot was the community around me. And like, I knew that whatever college I wanted to go to, I wanted to be surrounded by people who were smarter than me and who inspired me, because that was a community where I could really learn to push myself and really learn to, expand beyond my boundaries. And so then for college, I looked a lot at, what the student culture is like and what, the way that students approach education, the way that students, see their school culture themselves and reflect on it. And the big thing that really helped for me was talking to a lot of students and in doing a lot of research. And you don't have to do all this after you get into college. You should definitely do this before you apply to colleges, because you don't want to apply to like 20 colleges, spend like $80 per application, and then waste all your time applying to colleges that you're not even going to end up going to and you wouldn't want to go to in the first place. And so I would say, for all this advice right now, like do that now, apply like all this information now, and do as much research as you can to prepare yourself for the future, because information is power. And if you have that now, you're going to be able to make the best decision that you can when the time comes. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's move on to Crystal next.
So there were actually quite a number of that I was debating between ILA, which is the one that I'm going to in the fall. I was also debating between USC, the Eastman School of Music, and UC Berkeley. Ultimately, what I decided on UCLA for a number of reasons, because it's I guess it's good to already have an idea of what kind of school you want to go to. For example, location, whether, how big is the school, how many teachers are there, what is the teacher to student ratio, what opportunities do they provide for your major, your career, your area of expertise. I ultimately chose UCLA because it offered opportunities for me to double major in music performance and business econ. And another thing that helped me a lot was contacting the teachers and the professors directly. So I actually got a lot of trial lessons with music professors from those schools that I was debating between. And ultimately, I chose UCLA because I felt the best connection with the teacher that I tried out with. So, and another big thing that I think some of the other panel members may have mentioned already is talking to students that already go to those schools. Talking to them who already had years experience there and can tell you what it's like to be there, can tell you what it's like to be at a school where your major is offered, and what kind of opportunities you'll have, what kind of work experience or work opportunities, internships, etc. And ultimately just talking to people who are already there, people who know what it's like to be there. I think that is the most important thing to consider.
And our last person is going to be Yusuf.
Thanks, Meg. Yeah, I also wanted to share my experience with choosing colleges. For me, it was a very tumultuous time during those weeks, and I think I learned a lot from it. So for me, I was deciding between UCLA and Yale. And I think when I first started out deciding, I was like, yeah, I'm 100% going to go to Yale. Like, there's no question. Like, why would I even think about UCLA? And then I honestly thought more about where my feelings and thoughts were coming from. And I realized that like I was really stuck in the mindset of just a name brand in Yale. And I hadn't really done my research, and I had kind of just brushed off UCLA, that I didn't want to go there because of the name brand. And after talking more with my parents, like I realized that my family was something that I wasn't thinking a lot about. Um, after talking to my parents for like 2 weeks, I realized that going to the East Coast is going to put a lot more pressure on my parents, not just financially, but also me not being close to home, also with my brothers being out. I also wasn't even thinking about the weather or the location. Um, and so I did still end up going to Yale because I really am looking forward to the private school where I'll have smaller class sizes and it'll be easier to get opportunities. But I think the key difference now is I understand what the sacrifices that my parents and the rest of my family are going through for this. I'm going in with the mindset, I've created a plan with my parents for how I'm going to pay back the debt that I'm incurring in on them for going to a private school over a public school. I'm going in with the mindset that, hey, it's important for me to stay connected with my family because I'm going to be so far away from home, and I want to reduce that burden on my parents. So for me, like choosing colleges was really a learning experience after it happened, and thinking about like factors that are so important to your life just beyond the name brand itself. And I know this is like a really tough position to always be in, and I would love to talk more with anyone about it in private afterwards as well.
All right. Thank you for all your responses. And our next question is, what are a few things that you would do differently going through high school and preparing for college?
Okay, we'll move on to the next question. So the next question is, many of the good ideas suggested here, such as networking regarding clubs, seems to be geared towards an extrovert. So what specific suggestions do you guys have towards introverts to pursue these extracurriculars? Sabrina?
Yeah, so for me, that was a really big question I had to ask myself at the start of high school. definitely have come a very far way in terms of like how comfortable I am talking to people, public speaking, you know, how much I enjoy hanging out with people in large groups. But when I went to high school, I was really shy and I like really just was very, very nervous about, you know, talking in public and reaching out for opportunities. I would see classmates, especially in Smoke Signal, because it's such an organization where you really have to speak up and make a voice for yourself. I really felt insecure about myself and like how much I would be able to speak up. So I very much characterize myself as an introvert my first 2 years of high school. And I think honestly, the main thing for me that really was helpful and like stuck with me was that you just surround yourself with people who inspire you and surround yourself with situations that you can be pushed out of your comfort zone. It's not that you have to not be an introvert anymore. It's that you need to be able to develop communication skills, develop teamwork skills. You can do all those things and still enjoy spending time alone because that's what an introvert is, right? But the fact is that, you know, eventually at some point in life, you're going to have to develop communication skills. You're going to have to work with other people unless you like plan on like living in a cave in like 10 years, right? Like you're going to be working in teams with people. And the best way to start developing those skills early is to be open at least to situations where you are going to explore yourself and your boundaries a little bit more. Like for me, I know I'm talking a lot about Smoke Signal, but that was one of the biggest organizations that really helped me come out of my shell. If you know anybody in Smoke Signal, you know we go on this annual San Francisco trip where we have to go up to strangers in San Francisco on a weekday morning and just ask them questions. And like, I cannot tell you how many times I got rejected from like people who are just like trying to go their way to work, right? And that experience was mortifying to me. I hated every second of it and I was terrified entire way. But after that experience, I didn't have a problem going up to strangers anymore as much as I did before. Like I was still scared and I was still an introvert, but going through that experience and going through that uncomfortable situation really allowed me to kind of quell my fears a little bit and practice those situations that will come in the future where if you want to be a leader, if you want to engage in extracurriculars, you will be doing communication and you will be working with people that make you nervous sometimes. So just practice it, be open to situations where you're going to be a little bit, you know, more out of your shell than you're comfortable with, but just be open to it.
Christina?
Yeah, so I agree with everything that Sabrina said. I too am an introvert and I also have trouble speaking like in public settings. I'm still like very nervous when I'm speaking to like large audiences. But one thing that I think really helped was just like practice, just like push yourselves to like take those opportunities and just keep doing it over and over and over again. Just like take small baby steps. Maybe it's just like raising your hand in class and like volunteering to do something. And then that can like eventually lead to like larger presentations and eventually lead to something like speaking to like hundreds of people. Just because you're an introvert doesn't mean that you have to be passive. You can be active and you can seek out opportunities and put yourself out there. And when you do put yourself out there, opportunities will start to come to you. And then when they do, don't be afraid to say yes. Because like when you say yes, you're opening up more gates than saying no. And then like if you're nervous about it, just say yes and then you can worry about it later. So just be active.
Alvin?
Yeah, I think really just tagging on to what Christina was saying, you know, I think really figuring out and establishing what your boundaries are early on is really important. But I think at the end of the day, right, as with most industry jobs, I think something that's a really critical life skill in general to have, not only for your career or whatever future job you want to pursue, but just in your own life as well. Good communication and the ability to communicate is honestly really, really important. And I think it's a skill that everyone needs to learn. And it comes back earlier to my point about the importance of really developing these soft skills. And so I think the prescription or the solution to this is I think you really just have to start putting yourself out there in more uncomfortable situations and stepping out of your boundaries. I think it's okay to sort of really work up to it. So let's say I'll take a political campaign, for example. That's the first thing that comes to mind. So let's say canvassing, knocking on doors. That's like an extroverted thing to do, right? You're knocking on strangers' doors, you're handing out pamphlets, you're telling them why they should support X measure, X candidate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But a step before that, right, is maybe you can help the volunteers set up and plan out the canvassing logistics. And then one day, right, when it's someone you're familiar with or comfortable with, be like, hey, can I tag along? It's really about that first interaction. Once you break that first initial barrier, you're going to feel really tense and scared leading up to it. But once you finish that action, you're going to feel so much more relieved after it. But not only that, you're going to feel so much more confident the second time. It's also why people say practice makes perfect, right? The more often you do something, the more confident and familiar you are with it. And it's exactly the same thing. The more you communicate, the more you put yourself out there, the more comfortable you're going to be assuming that role of being an active communicator. And so I think, again, just stepping out of your boundaries, purposely pushing yourself to be a strong communicator and searching for these opportunities is really important.
Anirudh?
Yeah, I think Ari's actually wanted to add on to Alvin, so maybe he can go and then I can give my response.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say like I mean for most of you that know me in here, you guys know I'm not really an introvert, but one thing that I used to really struggle with was public speaking, like presenting in class. I hated it. And you know, over time as I joined DECA, I got a lot better at it because it required a lot of presentations. So like Alvin said, practice makes perfect. And then obviously quarantine hit and boom, like I was just in my room by myself all day playing video games for months on end. So that kind of messed me up again. And you know, like I got very shy to speak in public again. I don't really know why, but you know, kind of like what Alvin said, is really good to step out of your comfort zone and boundaries. Like for instance, I didn't even know about this panel till a couple of days ago, till Sabrina and Yusuf asked me to be a part of it. And to be honest, I did not think I'd be speaking in front of 200 people. So I'm really happy I took the opportunity now. So like this opportunities like this will come along to really help you like push yourself out of your comfort level and learn how to work with the team and develop your communication skills. And like Sabrina said, you can always be an introvert, but you still in your life you're gonna have to learn to work with people and a team. So it's better to learn these skills in high school before you're out in the real world and you can't work with people, because what kind of a job is going to take you if you can't work with your coworkers or talk to your coworkers and communicate the right way, right? So yeah.
Anirudh?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say I like really strongly relate to both like Sabrina's and also to Aris's like responses. I think in my experience as a freshman especially, and even as a sophomore, I'm honestly somebody who, like, to people who know me, like I seem like a really extroverted person who likes to talk a lot, but to people who don't know me, it's just like, I don't know, for me personally, even today, I feel sort of a lot of friction when I want to ask somebody who I don't necessarily know, or even people who I do know, if I want to ask them for something, any help or any advice that I might need. But honestly, I just wanted to like reiterate on what everyone's been saying. Really, practice makes perfect, as Alvin was saying, and really stepping out of your comfort zone and trying to make things happen has been something that has helped me a lot. It's something that I can grow a lot with, but also honestly, yeah, the fact of the matter is that this world and like really like, yeah, this world is really run on like making connections and like really knowing people. So I know that as an introvert, like I know personally that it is really hard to make those connections, but at the end of the day, it is a skill that it's a skill that you need to like develop to reach out and to talk to people who you don't know. And it can be really difficult, but just I think the one thing to keep in mind is that there's a lot of other people who are going through the same stuff or the same sort of introverted struggles that you are. And honestly, yeah, just like keeping that in mind and think, and also, oh yeah, another thing that really helped me, this is another thing that I wanted to touch on was that whenever someone comes up to me, on the other hand, right, I'm sure that all the other seniors on this panel can feel the same way, but I don't feel any like embarrassment on any secondhand embarrassment on them either. Like, I'm like more than happy to help. So really thinking about the other person who you might be asking and thinking about how they might feel and thinking about how you would feel if you were in their situation can help ease the tension a little bit. I know that I was a little bit nervous talking at this panel, but honestly, I'm so glad that I was able to do it. And yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Okay, so moving on, the next question is, how did you guys use your time during summer breaks? Aris?
Yeah, so I mean, depending on which summer break, but let's just say my summer break going into my senior year, you know, there isn't really much going on besides the college application process, which was very simple for me because I knew I really wanted to play college soccer. And the only way for me to truly pursue that is to go to a community college where I know I would have a spot to play in. So my summer typically just consisted of, just hanging out with friends, going on hikes, especially since quarantine was going on, right? So I was just always hanging out with just a specific group of people, just relaxing. And I'll definitely say just use your summer breaks to relax. Don't go crazy with the studying and the this and the, like, don't go crazy with stressing yourself out about school. You should truly just use your summer break to relax. Maybe get a summer job, which could further help you with your networking or meeting new people. I got a job at a grocery store like over quarantine just because I was just sitting at home all day. So like, what, I need to do something with my life, right? So I got a job at a grocery store, and I'm talking to random strangers every single day, every single second. So that really, really helped me to speak out to strangers, which I used to be super uncomfortable with. But now every day I'm saying hi to a random lady down the street, and I'd definitely just say, just relax, search for fun opportunities. Not everything has to be academic. Maybe do some community work with friends, like things like that. That's what I would say.
Let's go to Christina now.
So like during summer, you don't have to be productive like the whole time. Summer break is for you to take a break. It's for you to like spend time with your friends that you don't usually have. You could like spend time with your family, go on like vacations. But if you do want to be productive, I do recommend taking like summer classes at any like private places, or also like summer programs. I know a lot of UCs or private colleges offer summer programs that are about like 4 or 5 weeks long, really depending on the program. And those are just so good for networking. Those are really good for just finding your passion and finding like your path in like career path. But like overall, just like take a break, take it easy, just like get stuff done, but also just de-stress, take the opportunity to just like find yourself.
Sahil?
Yeah, just to add on, of course, summer break comes after the end of a really tough school year. I mean, no matter what year you're in, you're going to be gassed out. You're just going to want to take a break. And that's exactly what you should do. Take a break, take a deep breath. You're done with school, just enjoy life. Just enjoy the moment with your friends, do the things you love. At the same time, it's very important to, not completely get removed from the game. Of course, if you want to keep pursuing your passions, take classes, go to camps, go ahead. But I think it's also important to reflect on the past year and use what you learned from the past year to improve your next year. So for example, there's a thing in the Scouts we call an SSC, a start, stop, continue, where you basically list out what you want to start doing next year, what you want to stop doing next year, and what you think you've been doing well, so you want to continue doing next year. So reflecting on the past year and making an SSC will allow you to not only work more effectively towards your goals for the next year, but you'll also be having a much better time because now you've thought about the year in advance and now you have a clear-cut goal. So no matter what, if you get distracted, if you lose your motivation, you know where you're going at the end of the day. So yeah.
We'll go to Crystal next.
Yeah, I just want to second what everybody else was saying, that it is important to take a break. Summer break is meant for you to relax, but it's also important not to completely forget about your academic studies. I would highly recommend taking a couple weeks, maybe two or 3 weeks to attend a summer program. In my summer breaks in high school, I always attended summer programs specifically for music. And through those summer programs, I was able to connect with many other singers, many other people who were into the same career field that I was going to pursue. I was also able to meet up with many different professors, singing professors from Juilliard, from Curtis School of Music, from top schools around the world. And it's a really good opportunity to meet up with people like that. But again, it is also important to take some time to take a break. You don't always have to be on the grind. Sometimes the grind can stop. Take some time to spend time with your family, spend time with your friends, go out and have fun, because that is what summer break is for ultimately. And yeah, just make sure you have a good balance of work and play.
And our last person for this question will be Anirudh.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate on what everyone was saying about taking a break, maybe go on a vacation if you can, really take a step back. And I really like Sahil's advice about doing the SSC and evaluating yourself, because summer is the best time to do that. Take a breather, slow down, and really focus on the things that you really want to do in your life. So I really do think that summer programs can be really valuable in terms of networking and also in terms of just exploring your interests. But apart from that, one thing that I wanted to touch on was doing personal projects as well, and developing on skills that you might want to be developing yourself. I think in my case particularly, there's really two things that I really focused on over my summers, especially my summer, or like my long summer break, like, you know, from like March last year all the way up till like September when school started again. Because let's be honest, that last semester wasn't really that intense. But I think during that amount of time, what I really wanted to do was I really wanted to do two things. The first thing that I wanted to do was improve my coding skills and really make a project that I thought would be able to make a difference in the community. And the second thing would be to improve my language skills and more specifically improve my Hindi skills so I'd be able to watch Bollywood movies over the summer, you know? So really those two things are the two main things that I wanted to focus. So I set those goals, and then I was able to develop Mission Connected over the summer. And honestly, having personal projects like that you want to accomplish with all of your free time is a really great way to gain skills that you might want to have further down the road, while also being a super fun way to do it. It's not a project that you have to do. It's not like a school assignment or anything. So it's very flexible, and also you'll be able to learn a lot. And I would say that if you, for any reason, like aren't able to go to a summer program, I think that doing personal projects are a really good way to learn. So yeah.
All right, so our next question is, if there are multiple things we're interested in or wish to pursue, what are tips for choosing which one to pursue/major in? All right, Alvin?
I think this is a question that I think is really going to vary by individuals. There are some folks that might really just want to go forward and just pursue whatever passions they have. In college, there might be other folks, right? Like if you're pursuing something, let's say acting, right, where it's super competitive industry, and if not landing any more major roles, it might be hard to sustain a consistent income, right? Because you're going contract by contract. So in instances like that, right, there are folks who might want to major in something that they know can give them a substantial job after they graduate college to have this main source of income so they can go ahead and pursue their passions. I know in Asian culture, that's something that our parents really stress to us. But I think again, that's something that really varies by individual. I'd say that if you know for sure that you want something stable, something surefire after you graduate with a good source of income, and then pursue your passion on the side, that's totally fine as well. If you know that this is something that you're fully committed in, that this is the career path you want to go, just go ahead and do it. I do think that a lot of times what we see in the Asian American community here, particularly at MSJ, is they'll stigmatize a lot of things, right? Things like becoming a doctor, computer science, that's great. But going into art, going into dance, no, that's not good, right? And I think that's a really destructive mindset because, at the end of the day, you really only have one life to live and you want to make the most out of this world. And at the end of the day, okay, good for you. You got a engineering job at Google, right after college. Okay, so what? 80 years from now, is anyone going to care? No, no one's really going to care. So at the end of the day, right, it's really about pursuing what you're genuinely passionate about. So I think for everyone, this question might have a different subjective answer depending on what your priorities are. But for me personally, and what I'd recommend to most people, honestly, just pursue your passions, do what you're passionate about. No matter how difficult it is, again, wouldn't you rather die doing something you love than die doing something you hate? And I think it just comes down to that simple mindset.
Okay, so the next question is, do the panelists have any specific advice for the incoming freshman class with regards to high school? Sahil?
Yes, yes. The incoming freshman class, you guys have so much potential. I just want to tell you guys, get involved. Don't be a bystander, you know. Sure, you'll get into school and you'll feel a little, inundated with all of this new stuff at Mission. There's so much to do. I completely understand that. But focus on what you do. Focus on what you want to do. Maybe right before you enter ninth grade. Wow, that was so long ago. Right before you enter ninth grade, lay out maybe some goals you want to accomplish. Maybe if you have a vision, that is absolutely amazing. Lay out your vision. And as you acclimate to Mission, your first few months, learn about what opportunities are there for you on campus. There are a lot of great resources for you on campus that can help you do this, mainly Link Crew. Link Crew puts you directly in contact with upperclassmen that you can ask questions basically throughout the year, and they'll help you. They'll get you the resources you need, and from there you can grow. But apart from that, I heavily, heavily encourage you to try new things. If you have, say you are thinking about going to CS, but you do have an interest in art, it's like a hobby, then go to an art club meeting. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to teach you and, have a good time. Go into sports. One of the biggest things that I wish I could go back and do was go into more sports at Mission. I completely regret that. But yeah, just go out, try new things, and I promise you, you will not regret it.
Aris?
Yeah, so I feel like the biggest piece of advice I can give is to please just do not dwell on the little things and just look at the bigger picture. One bad test grade in your freshman year won't, or I'm okay, no, one bad test grade in general, no matter the year, won't dictate your future. It's okay to make mistakes and grow from them. That's what high school is all about. You still have your whole life ahead of you after high school, so don't be discouraged by the obstacles you will face in high school. Instead, you should welcome them. These obstacles truly test who you are as a person, and it helps you just grow both academically and individually. So yeah, I know way too many, me included. I just know a lot of people who'd get one bad math grade or test grade and be like, oh my God, my life is over. I'm done. I'm screwed. Like, no, but that's really just not the case. You have to remember a piece of paper is not going to dictate your future. You control your own fate and you control your life. So don't let a grade control you.
Yusuf?
Thanks, Amanda. Sahil and Ari's touched on some really great points, and I wanted to talk about something a little bit more personal that I wish I had focused on as a freshman, but I think with advice of some upperclassmen, I did start focusing on in sophomore and junior year. In addition to focusing on school and the activities and your passions, I think one place you cannot go wrong at all, no matter where you're going, art, music, dance, STEM, CS, medicine, business, is focus on your people skills, because everyone's going to love that if you can master it. It can be anything as small as, like, if you have a classmate in a class that you really like and maybe they seem really interesting to you and you're kind of scared about reaching out to them, just go ahead and do it. Practice those people skills, practice your communication, practice your empathy. Make it something like how, when we're exercising, we're like, okay, every day I'm going to run 2 miles, or like I'm going to go on the bench press, going to bench 100 pounds. Do the same thing with your EQ, like Alvin was talking about earlier. Make your people skills something that you work on daily. And if you start that as a freshman, man, that will take you so far. I think there's 2 things in people skills that I really try to focus on, and I wish I was better at, is empathy and open communication. And I think the better that you can place yourselves in people's shoes, and the better that you can communicate your passions and visions, like Sahil was talking about, that will put you in, like, out of this world. You'll be placed on another pedestal. So my advice to incoming freshmen is, wherever you go, look to practice your people skills. They will become invaluable for the rest of your life.
Sabrina?
Yeah, everybody who just talked had really, really good advice. And I wish I knew all of that as freshmen too. I think just looking back, something that I wish I would have known as a freshman is just, focus on mental health. I know we all talk about mental health so much at Mission, how important it is to think about it, but actually, critically evaluating yourself and being okay with asking for help and being okay with talking to other people about how you're doing is going to be so important. And if any parents are out there, like, please talk to your kids about this because it's going to be so important. Having an open channel of communication for that to be an acceptable discussion and for students to feel safe about that. That's going to be the first most important thing, because you can't build your GPA. You can't do a bunch of extracurriculars. You can't do all of that if you're not in the right frame of mind, if you're not, investing in yourself and your own mental health. And so part of that is also, focusing on the relationships that you have in high school, because those are going to be the support systems that you really build up as you're, a freshman. And just like I know there's a lot of new things going on as a freshman. You have a lot of new clubs going on. You have a lot of new friends you're worrying about. But focus on building quality over quantity, because those relationships are the things that you're going to cherish the most in high school. You're not going to remember like the test scores you had. You're not going to remember like the awards you won like 10 years down the line. You're going to remember the memories that you made with people, and the people who have built you up to who you are today, and be grateful for that. And so just, I think the key thing is to, one, be kinder to yourself, and, be okay with being honest that you have to ask for help sometimes. And the second thing is, focus on building up those relationships so you can be that support system for other people, and you can build that support system for yourself as well.
Okay, and our last question will be, if you had to give one piece of advice on college admissions, what would it be? Aris?
Yeah, so as I mentioned previously, my college app process was much more simple, since I already knew that I wanted to go to Ohlone. But one thing I would like to say is, Mission is filled with these amazing, skilled, smart students who are gonna be going and applying to like my fellow panelists here, like Yusuf, Yale, UC Berkeley, UCLA. I would say don't let your peers or your friends try to don't let them influence your decision. Do what's best for you. Like a lot of my friends are going out of state, or they're going to these prestigious schools, but I still decided that Ohlone was just the best choice for me. So just like we mentioned previously, just carefully weigh your options and just choose what's best for you. Like I don't want my soccer career to end yet, so I was like, you know what, I'll go to Ohlone, play 2 more years, save money, and I'll transfer out after that 2 years. So just do what's best for you. Don't worry about where other people are going, because I know a lot of people who are just super worried about getting to these prestigious schools because everyone from Mission is going there or going there. But you guys need to just tone that out and just truly just do what's best for you, and don't worry about the others.
And our last person for this question will be Alvin.
Yeah, I just really want to echo what Aries was talking about. I think a lot of us can easily get caught up, in the mission mindset and the rat race. And I know for me personally, I definitely was freshman year, but I think what really helped me get out of it, again, was what we mentioned earlier about putting yourself into these new experiences. Because once you get to talk to people who have much more different experiences, perspectives, educational backgrounds than you, that's when you really start, I think, to realize and mature as an individual and realize the more important things in life. And I think, to answer this question directly, I'd say the greatest piece of advice that I would suggest is honestly just do what you're passionate about, right? Go really far in whatever it is you're passionate about, because I mean, yes, short term it reflects well in a college application, but long term you're also setting yourself up to pursue a career in whatever it is you truly love. And I think that's much more meaningful than what a bachelor's degree can offer you. I also think that you can really sort of break it down into 4 things to summarize everything that all the geniuses in the room here today reiterated, right? But the 4 things to keep in mind is really, stepping out of your boundaries, putting yourself out there, being willing to challenge yourself, opening new experiences. The second one is definitely persistence. So you can't give up, right? You have to be willing to put in that effort and grind. As a lot of people say, success is really a combination of both good opportunity and timing, plus that persistence, commitment, and hard work. The third one is networking. This one's absolutely critical. Everything in life to some degree is networking, and who you know, whether it's getting job offers, whether it's doing community work. So much of it is networking, communication, EQ, soft skills, all of that goes hand in hand. And so that's something that's very important to hone in as well. The last little 4th thing is just this concept of life being black and white, right? No, we all like to say that, life is so simple. We live in a life of yeses and nos, but in reality, everything falls in the gray zone, right? There is a lot of complicated nuances to a lot of things. There are great people that do really bad things, and there are also bad people that sometimes do great things. And I think life is a story of contradictions, and that's also something to realize as well as part of that process of maturing and growing. Because, you know, think about it like this: at the end of the day, there's if one of the good STEM gods here could help me, how many organisms are there in this planet? Billions, trillions? I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, trillions, right? At the end of the day, right, we're all we got, right? So we might as well be there for each other, help each other out, because, you know, we're not going to be on this world anymore in 100 years. And so all of this doesn't really mean a lot. So you might as well make the most of the time you have here and make the best of it. So those would be my 4 pieces of advice.
All right, that was our last question, guys. Before I hand it back off to the moderators, I just want to say thank you all so much for everyone who stayed until the end. I know this has been a long 2 hours, everyone on Zoom and YouTube. I myself have also learned so much from this panel, hearing these 7 other amazing seniors. And also a big thank you to our moderators, Warren, Meg, Amanda, and Amelia, for taking care of everything behind the scenes, and all the other ASB officers who aren't here with us today. And once again, thank you guys so much for being here, who are tuning in. You guys are part of history, and we're hoping that this can be something that's annual for the rest of mission. I'll hand it back off to the moderators.
And so that concludes our first ever MSJ Senior Panel. I believe that the seniors will be putting their contact information in the chat for those of you who want to reach out to them for any further questions. Thank you all for attending this wonderful event, and thank you to the incredible seniors that have volunteered to share their wisdom with us and the next generation tonight. And we really hope to continue this great tradition in the future.
All right, I'll be stopping the live stream in a couple seconds.